Hi everyone, I'm forever going on about best flow, and not just for me but for everyone whilst I'm teaching and while I'm driving myself. And in this short little video today, it's going to be a long one, I'm going to be looking at best flow for everyone. Just being aware of this door was open as well, so I had space, so I was going to use it. There was a child in there also, so that was an important little thing that I had to deal with. So yeah, best flow. I'm here in Bootle and I'm going to get to the city centre, so I'm just going to try and verbalise what I'm thinking about for best flow. So I'm going to turn left here. Best flow when you're doing a junction is to not inconvenience people, and that's really important. People forget that quite quickly at junctions, that they just pull out and then cause other people to slow down, and it's not the best way of going about things. So meeting situations are a common time where you've got to try and plan for best flow. So all I'm doing here, my lights are on red, so I'm holding back and letting this grey Kia just come through, because it wasn't going to benefit me in the slightest if I was going to try and barge through and get up to the lights. Best flow again also is another added benefit to economy. If you can drive with best flow, if you can try and do your utmost to keep moving all the time, by forward planning, honestly it saves you a hell of a lot of fuel, or even if you're in an electric car, it saves you a lot of range and extends your range. So that's really important. So what am I thinking now? I'm thinking of the traffic side to side, and I've only got one vehicle from the opposite side. My concern, or sorry, two vehicles now from the opposite side. My concern is just the two pedestrians, well, three. Looks like the dad and the two kids. But again, I did my utmost to go slow enough and then keep things flowing. And that's really important. You can often look really far up to the roundabout up at the top and see if there's a big queue. What's the point in racing to get there? And this is a mindset that you've heard many a times on many of my videos, and we're going to be doing a little bit with this today. I'm turning right at the roundabout, and again I'm backing off. I'm trying to give these time to get out of my way so I can keep it moving. There's not a gap until after the van. I already know where my gap's coming. I've got plenty of time, nothing's changed, so again I've flowed on. And people often honestly criticise me that I sometimes get a horn and a beep for the gaps that I take. Now, there's no way in the world I'd ever pull out in front of someone so it makes them change speed of direction, but if you can plan your gap to flow in without causing them problems, even if, I won't say you're close to them, but probably closer than a learner needs to pull out, that's not an issue. People get triggered massively by someone pulling out in front of them when it affects them, well, doesn't affect them in the slightest. So I'm not saying jump into small gaps, but people can be a little bit over touchy. If you just pulled out in front of me when they did, but they didn't cause you any issues, so just keep that in mind. So best flow, the lights up at the top are on red. There's no point legging it. You've all heard this before on the channel about why race to queue. And by taking my time getting here, I'm going to see whether again I can do my utmost to keep flowing and keep moving. Have any of you ever pushed a broken down car? I'm sure you have. It's quite difficult to actually get going, but once you get the momentum going, it's easier to keep moving. And that's sort of the same thing that your car's got to do to get itself moving. Here, now we've stopped, the car's got more work to do to get itself going rather than continue, and that's where generally the fuel savings come from. So keep that in mind. We weren't able to keep flowing here, so it's just one of those things. Flow as well. What's the maximum amount of vehicles that can fit through this set of traffic lights? Well, it's as if everyone fills the lanes up and uses all of the lanes. So not be triggered about other people filling up all the road space and then reorganising themselves down there. The Other point that I'd just like to work on, I'm just being mindful of what's going on up ahead. Flow here. The best flow would be for me to go out after this Jaguar, but the black one, what's it doing? It's staying right next to me. I'm just putting a little signal on, see what it's doing. No, we're okay. So it's closing the space down. So we've got a space closer to this side. That's not a problem. You're always aware of people like that, and sometimes people say, why are you looking in the car? And I do look in the car to try and gauge further information. Is she then just close that space down a little bit for me not to get through? I think I can just about fit, but it shows you exactly some people's mentality. All right. So the point that I was just going to go, well, I'm just going to go back to, was when I'm in a queue, keeping a little bit more space. People often say in the comments, why aren't you pushing up and going close? Well, keeping a little bit further back again aids flow, because what actually goes on is you're able to anticipate and plan from a little bit further back, and you can actually start that movement from a little bit further back. We've got that same lady who's in this lane to the right, and there's a vehicle I think a little bit further up was with a right signal on. So I'm always aware of people like that wanting to get back in. And this is another important point. It's a point that people get triggered over, that people do get in the wrong lanes. You're never going to have that perfect situation where no one gets in the wrong lane. When someone gets in the right lane and they've got it wrong and they want to fit in, just let it go. Let them flow quickly and early. In the end, there wasn't anyone turning right there, so all that traffic was able to flow nicely. But when someone does make a mistake, you'll be surprised, and it helps everyone so much more if you can be that person that aids that traffic flow. Again, try and go one after the other, so one from one side, one from the other. There's no specific rules about merging in turn in situations like that, but it does help. Try and do that as much as you can. All right, traffic lights down at the very end. Even though I've stuck to speed limits and the rest of the vehicles up ahead haven't, let's have a think of that traffic flow. How far ahead does it actually get you by maybe breaking the speed limit? Well, in this scenario, absolutely nowhere whatsoever. Now, again, I'm just slowing down early. I'm trying to manage this distance of the lorry behind. I'm slowing down really smoothly and gently again, doing this with as little brake as you possibly can, using the engine braking, again, saves fuel. When you're in a internal combustion engine car coming off the accelerator as you're slowing down, uses in modern cars and no fuel whatsoever. When you're in an electric car, most of them regenerate power going back into the battery from you slowing down, so try and remember that as much as you can. Now, there's just a little point that I just want to talk about with traffic lights. It might seem a little bit contradictory to some of the advice I give, but if you're too slow away and you're not keeping up with the flow, because of the sensors in the road that control the traffic lights, even on the temporary ones, they're on the top of the lights themselves, the little sensors. If you don't keep up with the flow and sort of get the sensors triggered, the lights could change. Just like we've got in front, there was a big gap between me and the vehicles in front. So if there are any vehicles side to side, it's always likely that these lights are going to change. So you need a high level of anticipation of this scenario and situation to be able to keep traffic flowing again. I'm aware of people around me. This one to my right was right signalling. There was one vehicle 2 or 3 cars back that came back in, so I'm just aware of that one. It's a black car, I can't work out what it is. It's like an SUV that I think was going to go in that right turn lane only and go ahead. So we're looking out for these problems all the time. So because of that, I'm going to clear and I'm going to get out of the way and in lane 2, so I'm dealing with this parked car on the left nice and early. Let's just have a little nosy about the vehicle that I'm talking about from behind as well. So traffic flow, if we look down at the lights at the bottom, they're on red. If I can take my time getting there, I'm more than likely able to keep them moving. And the vehicle that I was talking about is the black one in lane 2 now, not the Mercedes. The Mercedes is overtaken, and that's maybe being a little bit triggered because I'm taking my time getting to these lights. Now, again, the gap isn't too bad. I don't think we're going to have many problems with this. And the black one's doing a right turn. So here, I'm actually speeding up a little, not to be too close to the white one, but to be about 2 seconds, no closer, but within the traffic flow, because then the lights are less likely to change. So you should never try and rush to get to the lights, but if it can be done so you're up with the flow prior to getting to them, really important. Crossing's okay, no issues with that. Now I'm going to need to do a lane change, so I'm actually going to do it nice and early because of the white vehicle, and I'm just aware of just changing lanes just where this one was in a position where if it came back it would have caused me problems. So just delayed that a little bit, backed off my my power and just dropped in behind. That one was showing a few signs of coming over the centre line as well. So traffic flow, is this on your mind as you're doing your driving, or do you just think about getting to your destination as quickly and as early and as soon as you can? Now again, I'm always going to try and be accommodating. It's their job if they want to come into this lane to fit into this lane, but already I'm having a little lean forward. I am going to go back into lane 1. There we go, no problems. I'm always trying to be accommodating for the best flow. The quicker you can help someone get out of a lane that's joining from that left hand side or the right hand side on occasions, the quicker everyone's going to flow and get to their destination a little bit sooner. So it's all about working together rather than being selfish, and this is why you'll often hear me saying about a selfish road mentality, about just thinking about themselves. What's your thoughts on this vehicle to my right? It's an M520D. Interesting. I'm not taking a mick either, but you can pick up on sometimes what people do to their cars, debadging them or putting an M badge on to make them sort of like feel a little bit better than they are. It's not an M car whatsoever. It's a 520D estate, but I'm always aware of people like that. Now I am going to lane change. I do need to head down to this right hand side, and I've picked the best time to head across. And again, I'm just thinking of traffic flow here. I'm going to be turning right at the lights. No issues whatsoever. This is the lane that heads off, but I have seen in this scenario this left lane heading round to the right as well, although they shouldn't do, and you can tell that from the road markings, not just the straight on arrow in this lane to the left hand side of me, but also the road marking that's in between me and the next lane to the left. But I'm always aware of it, and if there is going to be anyone, I'm looking for little clues, looking in the car, seeing when they've got the signals on, all these little things. I'm picking up on all of them to see whether I can find out on what's what. So I'm just aware of this van, aware of people around to my right. Is it going to be able to be cleared? Yes. The red one to my right is a little bit of an issue because it took away my escape route to the right hand side. In the end it's worked out all fine, so we're all okay. Wasn't able to keep everything flowing here. We're in pretty close to the city centre of Liverpool, just on the outer zone of the city centre. So it's always going to be pretty busy. It is a Saturday, so it's maybe not its busiest time, but we'll keep working with this traffic. So flow, I'm able to clear the other side, it's not a problem, and I'm always looking for clues that people are going to wish to come into my lane to the left. I'm aware of the white one behind me peripherally. I think they could possibly want to come in behind this Peugeot I'm watching as well. The white one now not, because they're now going a little bit further forward. So peripheral vision is a skill that I've worked on over the years, and you have to, being a driving instructor, you really have to really tone that skill of peripheral vision. But even without looking, I'm aware of movement and where people are around, so I can accommodate, or in certain scenarios control their movement, and I'll slightly adjust what I'm doing with my car for best flow. But you've got to be careful of doing that, because if then people are stubborn and they battle against what you're showing them in your car, you've got to be ready just to submit and just take a safe option. So that's really important. Traffic sensors again, not much moving side to side. Is it pedestrian time? Just seeing a cycle come through from right to left. Maybe pedestrians for a bit. All right. Do these things, like say, go through your mind when you're driving? If they don't, they should do. You should be trying to do this. We're all sharing these roads. We don't own them just because we may have priority in a certain situation. We've got to do our best to accommodate every other road user, because none of us are perfect. We all make mistakes. I did say about this white one before. So if you think about what I'm doing, I'm just holding back. I don't think they're too sure. Now I'm clearing. I'm getting out of the way because I'm turning left. Okay. Now that's a classic situation, the silver Peugeot, just cancelling the signal early because we don't want it to mislead anyone from that left hand side. But what I was saying before about people maybe diving in front without causing any inconvenience was probably somewhere close to what the Peugeot did just in front of us there, just crossing traffic. So for me, that's actually good road use, as long as you don't cause people any problems. All it is often surprising to people who aren't expecting it, who need more room. But if you don't cause people any inconvenience and you don't cause them to slow whatsoever, it's okay, and we should be all less touchy about this. Okay, let's have a little think here. What are my dangers? Well, I'm stopped. You may just see me just have a little glance on my left hand side, and that's just for cyclists coming straight on. I'm turning left up ahead, so if I was turning left and there was a cyclist coming through, don't forget that's one of the new updates to the highway code. It's sort of been pushed to the background a little, but it is something that needs dealing with. Sorry, I'm just checking my camera. My interior camera looks as though it's heated up and give up the ghost, so we've only got the dash cam for this one for now, but I'm sure it'll be fine. Alright, there's a big gap in traffic. Is that going to be someone different? Again, Bob and Tom's, look both sides, be ready to deal with. Okay, now I'm being quite positive to show the white private hire that it's me going, and that's another way to aid traffic flow. But when it's good and when it's okay, be positive, clear, get out of there. Happy with the scooter rider, that's all good. No problems with that. Scooter riders on the pavement, I know they shouldn't do. Might be a little bit controversial this, but if people on two wheels used the pavements really sensibly, I personally don't see a big deal with that going on. If you're zooming on the pavements and there's pedestrians around and they're put at risk, no, that's no good. But in certain scenarios, for me, I know again it's controversial, but I don't mind people doing that as long as they're thinking of others, and that priority and that vulnerability is with the pedestrians, so that should always be first. Okay, so flow here, I've backed off early to try and keep as much of my momentum going with this flow of traffic as I can. And again, I'm doing the same sort of thing. I'm going to turn left. I'm just going to try and keep up with the flow, but now because there's a big gap behind me, I'm also wary of the lights now changing, and I was positive enough just to show the vehicle to my right that it was my turn and I was going. Okay, what could happen here? Lights could change. So now I'm reducing, I'm not going to close that space down. Now I'm through. So we've got someone to the right hand side coming past, the private hire driver, who doesn't work in that same way. They just see a slower car in front of them and just accelerate. Let's see where they're going to go up ahead. They're going to come back into the left lane. No, they're staying out into lane 2. That's fine. Use all the road space, like I've said, no problem with that. And I'm staying here and I'm queuing in this left side because I am going to be turning left a little bit further up. So I hope that gives you a little insight into my mindset of best flow. There's a fair bit more to it than that as well, so it might be something that will be good for me to maybe visit a little bit more detail a bit further up, maybe on some different type of roads as well, maybe motorway, maybe some out of town rural roads. But it's a constant thinking process. It rarely gains you much time if you're breaking speed limits, because traffic flows in pulses in between traffic lights, so it's less likely to be any help if you're bombing all the time and zooming through things. So that's just about it for today. Let's just get through this, and we'll just tell you what, we'll just have a little look down by the Royal Hospital, just about traffic flow down here. I've picked lane 2 already because there was queuing cars, well, not queuing, parked cars, and the one to the right hand side was actually in, but I'm not sure where they were going to go. They've decided to park in there, and we've got pedestrian crossing, so there's a lot of risk going on, so I'm just reducing. It's not going to gain me anything anyway. Down at the lights again, though down at the bottom the lights are on red, so I'm going to back off. Best flow and safest flow is me letting this guy go. There was nothing behind. I slowed early. The bus was able to slow behind and then continue moving, which probably saved a little bit of fuel for everyone. So just keep that in mind. I suppose it's quite apparent nowadays, isn't it? Safe travels to you all. Thanks a lot for watching and tuning in, and I hope to see you soon.